This is my most fun session that I do to facilitate because here's what I know. I know school and district leaders work incredibly hard, and I know that the people that I'll be in front of are experienced, they're talented, they bring a lot of brilliance, but they also need to have some fun. And so we're going to balance some research and best practices with some things that they can do literally the next day with staff. And so, the premise of it is this, is getting to be in so many places around the country, getting to work with so many district leadership teams and so many different groups of people. Never one time have I ever been to the district and, somebody comes up to me and says, Tom, communication in our district is perfect. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody's in the loop. Nobody has any questions. I've never heard that. And what we realize is communication is really a challenge. There's a study that I get into in a fun way in this session called the curse of knowledge. And essentially what it is every one of us sees the world differently. We all have a different upbringing background. We have different education, different understanding, right? And so as we're communicating, we make natural assumptions. And so for school and district leaders, their communication really will make or break their leadership, meaning poor communication leads to things like poor cultures. Poor communication leads to things like no trust. And in a poor culture with no trust, it is virtually impossible to move things forward. It's not possible at all. Flip that with great communication can build trust. And so we really navigate and work through, but I do it through a series of activities. Number one, I guarantee if you come to this session, you're going to belly laugh. I guarantee it. Number two, take some of these things that I want people to experience. I'm very much into people doing experiential learning where they experience something so that they can turn, and if they see value in it, replicate it with their cabinet, with their administrative team, or back on opening day, if that works for them, because I want it to be super practical. And so in doing so, we're going to connect some of the things around communication, but with some other pieces. We'll dive into things like the red car theory and choosing our lens each day and what we look for, we find more of, as an example. We'll dive into pieces with that, but they're going to leave some really practical takeaways, some fun activities that lead to some great photo ops with your staff, that I can promise, but also lead for some good time for reflection on their own communication in the way that they communicate internally, externally, with the different stakeholder groups that they have. You come to this session, I guarantee you have a lot of fun and you leave with a bunch of practical ideas and resources. So let me give you some practical takeaways. During the session, I build in, depending on timing, about 3 or 4 activities that you will be able to replicate. I'll literally giving you a document as a takeaway to give you, here's the exact materials, here's the exact questions to ask, here's some of the takeaways, here's a sample slide that you can use to make it super turnkey. No matter where you are in your district, communication is going to be just as relevant today as it is 50 years from now. No matter how great you're doing or how big are your struggles, communication is going to be at the core of so much of that. The other piece in terms of takeaways is really helping people, and part of the ending is really going through a handful of really evidence-based practices from research on what is it that actually works. If we understand the different avenues of communication, we recognize, for instance, leveraging visuals, leveraging the auditory, because when we think about all that intertwines in communication, all of those pieces, there's really some evidence-based practices that if we're conscious of it as superintendents or other district leaders, it can really help us in our communication. So my biggest hope is that as those superintendents, as those leaders are walking away from the sessions, they've reflected on their communication, their previous emails, the way they've communicated with the staff as the whole, or maybe even made some changes to their upcoming convocation or upcoming welcome back letter that they may just be ready to send out. So want it to be super practical, but also fun at the same time. I recognize this time of year, yes, we've had a little bit of break in August, but at the same time, the stress is starting to rev up. And what I know is we need to find the joy each day. And I get the struggles that are on the plates of the folks that are going to be there, the true struggles that are out there. So at the same time, we're going to have a lot of joy. And I think that's an important piece to finding the joy each day. And we can have some fun in the process, and being able to replicate that with their teams at their follow-up admin meetings, I think will be a great takeaway.